Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of We Got Issues. As you guys can see, I still have my severe case of my red eyes. Before I talk about my red eye, let's get on with the show here. Well, you guys already can see him. You guys can already see him on the screen there. But before we begin, let's go through his accolades here. You might know him from his widely celebrated series with co-created. He co-created with Scott Snyder, American Vampire, and soon to be a Netflix series Prodigy, based on the comic book of the same name. He collaborated with Mark Millar. From 2007 to 2009, he helped popularize and launch Blue Beetle to mainstream success for DC Comics. In 2008, he did covers and some interior work for Superman, Batman, and Robin and Spoiler Special #1. In 2009, he drew covers for Marvel Comics miniseries Nomad, Girl Without a World, based on the character created by Jeff Loeb and Rob Liefeld. In 2010, I mentioned earlier, he co-created American Vampires with Scott Snyder. In the same year, he did the hardcover for the collection of the book was listed in the New York Times bestseller list and won the IGN Best of 2010 awards. In 2011, he also won the Eisner Award and the Harvey Awards for Best New Series. And in 2018, he won the Inkpot Award for Best New Series. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Rafael Albuquerque, how are you doing today, sir?
Very well. How about you, Tim? Hi,
Good.
everybody. Nice being here. Thank you for invitation.
Of course. No, this is you are one of the artists I've always wanted to talk to, but always hard to get a hold of. You're very, very popular and very well in demand. I gotta have to say, those everything that I've said, those are just not all of it. You have at least 12 nominations under your belt too as well. I mean, how does that I believe, if correct me if I'm wrong, you started your comic book career in 2002, and all these accolades that I just mentioned. This is one of the best origin story of an artist and creator I've ever seen my whole life. How were you able to generate all these hits one after another? I mean, American Vampire, Stephen King. Oh my God.
Um, I guess I'm just lucky. uh, I work hard though, but I'm lucky.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, I mean, I was lucky enough to get into Blue Beetle, who eventually had like this big fan base eventually,
Right,
and I had a really good run in there. I did like 3 4 years maybe,
right.
and now they have like a motion picture which is really nice. Then Superman, Batman, American Vampire, which was a big hit indeed. Stephen King has
Mhm.
a important part on it, but
Right,
also Scott Snyder, who's fantastic, and he did a really good uh, story. And
right.
so I mean it's again, it's a lot of work, but it's not hard working with guys of that caliber.
Right, of
You
course.
know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
You know what I'm very interested in is that I graduated with a marketing degree, and I believe I read that you started off advertising, working in advertising at first. How did you make that transition to just say, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and do comic books instead? Like, was that always been your plan A, but you just kind of went with the plan B with advertising for the meantime?
I've never really. I mean, I have done a couple of a few illustrations for advertising, but I have never, did the degree or anything like that in advertising. All my career was quickly moved into comic books. That I figured out that was my thing quite early in my life, and I definitely focused on that. But when you're beginning, doing some advertising work in Brazil, if you draw okay,
Mhm.
it's very common. That I can
Right,
say. It's
right,
very common for people who are trying to get into somewhere else.
right. Was the comic book the comic book scene in Brazil, was it as big as it is right now? Because right now, comic books in Brazil is pretty big. I mean, DC has held their yearly their DC events in Brazil quite often. Um, was it as big as it was back then it is today? And was it hard to get into the comic book scene when you first
I'm
started?
not sure if I understood correctly because the audio was kind of cutting.
Oh,
But you're asking if the industry in Brazil is as big as it is now.
yes.
Oh, back then, not that much, and still not huge, but it growth a lot. Uh, Back then, I was like, doing fanzines and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Nothing. I mean, it was very hard to get into the publishing place, uh, and promoting our stuff with we were still talking about 2000s, early 2000s. So it's, I mean, even internet was kind of um, uh, very early. We didn't
Yeah.
have social media and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
What was your first I guess your first leg in the comic book business in Brazil?
that
Did
was
you
it. I mean, that was the early moments of internet. So I had this, basically it was like a portfolio online, something
Mhm.
like DeviantArt or something like that.
Mhm.
Um, and someone from this Egyptian comic publisher, they liked my work and invited me to draw a couple of issues. That was pretty much my break in moment. So I drew. I worked with them. It's a publisher called AK Comics. They don't exist anymore, but
Right.
basically I worked with them for like, I don't know, maybe 2 3 years
Mhm.
until I had the chance to start with Boom Studios. That was also very new at the industry back there.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
That was 2005 maybe.
Right. Yeah.
So one thing kind of led to another, and then my one of the gigs I did for Boom was a book called Jeremiah Harm, and that
Mhm.
was written by Keith Giffen.
Okay.
So Kid liked my work, and he was at the time writing Blue Beetle. So uh, he kind of brought me,
It
to
brought you in.
Tully, who's the creator and the first artist of the book.
Mhm.
Um, so he liked my work, and that's the way I got into the scene.
Yeah. Yeah, Ross Ritchie is an awesome person. We interviewed him before, and he speaks very highly of a lot of anyone from like South America and Brazil artists. I didn't know that you started on Boom Studio too as well.
Yeah,
What led you not to sign an exclusive contract with Boom Studio at the time? Did you just want to broaden your horizon, or was it just one of those things where it's like
they were
a
very
work for
small.
hire?
They were very small at the time, and
Hmm.
they probably didn't have like a exclusive contract. I didn't.
Right.
It was a freelancer work, and it was. I mean, I drew Jeremiah Harm at first, and then I
Hmm.
got a mini series called Savage Brothers.
Hmm.
Super fun to do. It's kind of a zombie land story. It's
Right.
humor slash horror,
Right.
um, and that was written by Johannes
Right.
Stokes and Andrew Cosby. So we are talking about very early Boom Studios stuff.
Hmm.
So it was a lot of fun. I mean, we kind of grew up together.
Right. Your art style is very distinct. Anyone who sees your art, we already know it's your art. We already know it's Rafael. We already know it's him. Did you have to kind of try? Did you experiment with a lot of different type of pencils and different coloring as ink just to find that something distinct that's yours?
Absolutely, I think this is natural for every single artist. We st- when we start, we kind of try to mimic. artists that we like or that we can at least connect somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually your styles comes up,
Right.
uh, in one phase, one the way you do composition or your storytelling, these
Mm-hmm.
small aspects, they kind of shape the way your style is on the end of the day. And yeah, of course, I have. If you look at this early work I did, I mean, there's something there that is still here. That is my personality. I'd say that,
Right.
but there's a clear evolution. Let's just say,
Mm-hmm.
um, on my art style. I think American Vampire is definitely
So what changed everything?
yeah, exactly. It's a moment where I was asked to change my style in order to having like two narratives, Stephen's and Scott's.
Mm-hmm.
So they asked me. They actually called me because I was able to change it a little
Right.
bit. So that was a growth moment for my art style, and I was able to find a voice in there with brush strokes and stuff like that. Playing a lot of negative space,
Mm-hmm.
uh, narrative, all that. So that's how I see my work now, and it's still growing, and it's gonna evolve forever. Just
Of
like
course.
the series say. I mean, the catchphrase is it's all about evolution, and it
Right.
is for everyone.
Right. There's definitely I can definitely see a difference between Prodigy and All Star Batman. When you did All Star Batman and Prodigy, there's definitely a change, a little bit of a change in there. Now, I was talking with Yannick Paquette. He's French Canadian and amazing, amazing artist too
A
as
friend of
well.
mine. Yeah.
Yeah, he's fantastic. And we were talking about the difficulties of speaking a different language and reading a script. Did you ever had any difficulties reading an English script and then just translating it and then just illustrating it?
Mhm. At first, yeah. I mean, it's still not the same.
Hmm.
Although I speak English, it's not my first language, so
Right.
it's probably chunkier than for an American or an English
Hmm.
speaker. But yeah, at first I needed translators and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then did you have to like? He told me that he had to go through a thesaurus and then goes through and then do a direct translation from a dictionary in a thesaurus. Did you have to do anything like that too as well? Because it doesn't seem like based on your arts and the way that you kind of mesh up with all these writers, it doesn't seem like you have that difficulties of actually just knowing what they want. As is that kind of bond kind of important to you too as well, like that familiarity with the writer?
That's crucial for me. I mean, I have refused to work because I couldn't connect with the with the writers a few times.
Hmm.
And I'm very lucky to work with probably the best writers in the business. So, but it's very important for me to connect creatively with them. I understand they have an idea, and I'm the
Hmm.
guy who's going to translate that
Hmm.
idea to a
Right.
comic form in a way.
Right.
Let's just simplify that, but it's something like that. So it's important that I have room to put my ideas on it. So basically, what I try to do most of the time is understand what they want to pass along
Hmm.
more than necessarily follow what they are telling me to do. And I think it works better this way because I
Hmm.
can interpret visually the things probably better than a writer.
Right.
But the core emotion, the core idea, it's up to them. So I have to be very specific about portraying that idea. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, of course, most definitely, yeah. Because it's a funny thing is that what you're saying it pretty much echoes what Dan Mora has told me about too as well. I spoke with Dan Mora before, and he was telling me about the difficulties of reading Grant Morrison writing or even speaking with him. So he was telling me that Grant Morrison has this very thick accent,
Yeah.
and he would tell
Scottish
Dan, yeah,
stuff.
it's really strong, and then he would tell Dan Moore what to do, and he's trying to translate it. He's like, I'm not quite sure, but sure, he'll just do it. But he has that connection with him. So yeah, definitely, I definitely understand that. Now speaking of connection too as well, um let's get to the big elephant of the topic, which is American Vampires, which is what you're very much known for. How did that come about? Because I've been reading and trying to see if I can find interviews about it, and I haven't seen any. I haven't read anything or seen any interviews that states how did that get started. Like, did Scott Snyder approach you, or did Stephen King did? How did that happen?
You heard that?
Yeah,
The
the
thunder.
thunder. I was like, wow.
Well, to be honest, I don't really know. The project was already there when they called me. What I know though is that I was drawing Superman Batman at the time, and Will Denny's former Vertigo editor, known for 100 bullets and stuff, many stuff. So I met Will like maybe a couple of years earlier, and
Mhm.
I gave him a copy of an indie book I did here in Brazil called Mundo Urbano, where I approached the style differently. So
Mhm.
he liked that, and his assistant Mark Doyle was heading American Vampire. It was his very first, main editor project. So Will told Mark that there's this guy from Brazil who can manage changing the styles, and that's necessary for the story. Maybe you should reach him, and that's what they did. And I wasn't happy at Superman Batman at the time, and when Will called me, Will or Mark, maybe Mark, when Mark called me, he was like, "Well, we have this vampire thing," and remember that it was Twilight era,
Right. Yeah.
so vampires were like cutie and stuff at the time, and we have this vampire thing, and maybe you're the guy for it. And I was like, well, maybe, I don't know, maybe it's not the time for a vampire now. But then I read the script, and it was really good. I mean, the plot, not the script.
Of course. Yeah.
And it was really good because it was exactly the opposite of what was going on. It was like gore and back to basics vampire. And on the end of it, that was their mistake. He was saying that Stephen King was attached to the project. They were not supposed to tell me that.
Yeah. Wow.
So that adventure. I mean, the story was great, but I mean, Stephen King.
Yeah.
Oh, sure, it's an easy sell. So I definitely agreed on, and they asked me to do a couple of sketches to know if that's what they wanted, because they were testing someone else as well. I don't know if they were, but on the end
Mhm.
they liked what I did. And I was just hired.
So let me before I get I had a question set after you tell me what happened there, but when you told me that Stephen King's attached. So are you telling me that if you didn't see Stephen King there, you would have said no?
No, no, no. I'll probably say yes because I really wanted to do something
Oh,
at first.
okay.
I really liked the story. What I'm saying is that having Stephen King on board helped a lot.
I understand. Okay.
At the time, although I was not happy, not with the writers, but editorial,
Mhm.
I was doing Superman Batman, which was a big book at the time as well.
Yeah, it was pretty big. Yeah.
I was just hired for that. So, I mean, it was not an easy switch.
Hmm.
And even Scott, he was not known at the time as well.
No. Yeah.
Uh, but then I realized, and I told Mark, "Hey, is Stephen King around?" And how do you know that? I was like, "Well, it's in the doc you sent me."
you
And
you left it. You left it there.
yeah,
Yeah, you left it there. I mean, like, of course I'll do it. Um.
Uh, but on the end of the day, I mean, I was very happy about the possibility of drawing that because that was definitely my kind of stuff. And if you
Mhm.
look at my style, my art style, what I was doing, even in Blue Beetle and Superman Batman, was something much more polished and more superheroish
Mm-hmm.
than I really wanted to do. I always had, this more gritty style in a way. So when I saw American Vampire, that was like the opportunity to do that, and that's what I did. I
Mm-hmm.
really, let myself go and do whatever I wanted. That
Right.
was great.
Was it difficult because the way American Vampire is written and the way that you've drawn it, you have different style depending on what the storytelling is, depending on what era and all that stuff in there. Because right now a lot of people are praising Lee Bermejo on how he's doing that thing with Boom Studio because he has different styles on different eras that he's talking about. But as he's an amazing artist, obviously, but you were technically the first one to do the different style kind of thing on different eras. I'm like, was that really not the very first one, but like
Say
very
that.
known one?
I don't really know. I don't really
Yeah,
know that. I mean, I
yeah.
was, just trying to follow my heart and doing
What was
that.
it hard?
I created. It was just an artistical approach.
Right.
Uh, I mean, it's not my creation or I own that. I
Yeah.
mean, Lee does a phenomenal work doing that. Watercolors, and I mean, there's no
Yeah.
comparison.
Yeah.
Uh,
Was
uh,
it difficult to do that in different kind of eras, like different type of style? Like you have to switch back and forth kind of thing, or was that kind of something fun because you kind of try to
it was
find
fun.
yourself?
It was fun. I mean, at first, I wasn't because American Vampire kind of pushed me into doing ink wash. I've never done those before, and at first I wasn't secure enough. I wasn't self assured enough about doing those,
Hmm.
but I had to, and that was literally an idea that come up on the last minute.
Right.
I had to do different style. I tried different approaches on pages, and I wasn't happy.
Hmm.
And then the ink washes were like, well, let's go this way. They like it. So things kind of clicked on the end
Right.
of the day.
Right.
So I decided, to switch for both classic inking
Hmm.
and washes over the whole series, which was great. I mean, it
Right.
was fun. It was a lot of I had a lot of help from Scott and from Mark, who has a fantastic eye for style and storytelling. They helped me a lot with reference and stuff.
Hmm.
So again, this is I don't really know if that's common in comic books because I have always been lucky working with
Hmm.
collaborative creators.
Hmm.
We had this team that was pretty much like a writer's room. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? We were constantly exchanging ideas about everything, not
Hmm.
just my part or his part, or it was pretty much about everything. Every cover, for example, was like a debate, which,
Right.
which which is great, because these are people who are committed with art, with the creative part of it. It's not just a product. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, I believe it was Joelle Jones that's actually when I interviewed her, she was talking about these big gathering that you guys do in DC. Like they put you in the one room and just cage you in there with Dan Ditto. And then he'll just tell you guys what's going on and what's going to be planning out for the year kind of stuff. Now, I see that when you started from Superman, Batman, Superman, I believe years later, you came back to All Star Batman. How was that transition? Was it kind of this, you kind of knew how to approach Batman at that point too, as well, the storytelling of Batman at that point, because
That's the
uh
thing. I never know how to approach because I see every book as a movie. Let's just say that. I mean,
mhm,
even if you get a director that do probably the same style of movies, each
mhm,
one is different, and you have to approach them differently. Although you have your style, and that's going to be there, you need to bring some different flavors Otherwise, it's boring for me and for the audience.
Yeah.
Uh, so that's how I face it. I mean, every single project I do, I kind of reconsider stuff. I try to
Mhm.
bring something new for the table. Sometimes it's on my art style, sometimes it's on ink washes or no ink washes, or sometimes it's my storytelling that's going to be slightly different. But I
Right.
always try to bring some different flavor in order to be able to make any kind of comic. I don't really want to be attached to horror or just one style of stuff because that's boring. I want
Yeah.
to do anything.
Yeah.
Um, so, getting back to All Star, that was amazing because I mean, I knew Scott before, and we had this vast collaboration, so it was easy to work with him. And also, I had the chance to co-write the backups, so the stories were attached. So we were pretty much definitely following his lead in order to keep the continuity, but it was again like a writer's room because he helped us with our story and our story kind of interfere on his story as well. So that was really fun to do. I collaborated with Rafa Scavone, who's my partner,
Hmm.
and we have a lot of collaborations together, Hit Girl and stuff. So I mean, it was a great experience. Take over All Star Batman, do whatever we want. That was
Hmm.
fun.
It's kind of odd that I'm asking about Batman because Batman puts a lot of people, they put a name on them every time you put in. If you put someone in Batman, you become a household name. But you were kind of different. You were already a household name going into Batman, so it's kind of it's kind of it's kind of it's kind of a reverse. They wanted All Star Batman to do well, so they put your name in there to actually start selling it too as well, right?
That's just you being kind. No, 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 it's not like and the
Well,
opportunity to draw Batman is it's great for everyone. I mean, every single artist, I bet at least 9% of them want to have an opportunity to work with Batman
mm,
and put their fingerprint on it. I think that's the coolest thing about working with a character as big as that is leaving your mark somehow. That's how I think, at least.
right.
So every time I work with, I do a Batman thing, it's like, what, this is going to be
Mhm,
my version, my version,
right. You,
and
you
see it.
you mentioned you pretty much exaggerated on the fact that you gotta have to put your own spin to it, and that's kind of like a common denominator with a lot of artists that I interview, is that they want to put forth their artistic form into a different type of character. Even writers do as well, right? They want to write it a certain way. How important is it, or how difficult is it sometimes that you kind of butt heads sometimes with I don't know if you have with editors, letting them know, like, I want to draw it this way, I find it this way, but they say, well, no, it should be this kind of way. Does Has that been an issue with you and throughout your career?
I don't remember anything that. I mean, there's of course some hints and stuff that requests that's totally reasonable, but nothing. I wanted to do an idea completely different than what you have. That would probably be I mean, I understand that if you're calling me to do a book, you know my work, and you understand that I'm the best fit for it. So I don't think we have this kind of disagreement that much because when they hire you, they pretty much know what you're offering.
Hmm.
Uh, so despite maybe a thing here or there, which is not a big deal, uh, you have room to be creative and do your own thing, especially when it comes to the art.
Yeah, because I find that a lot of artists, a lot of creators nowadays, especially when people, writers have created their own characters. When they hire artists just like yourself, it's because they want your type of artistic view from it. I remember interviewing Jonboy Meyers. He said that Todd McFarlane specifically asked him for a different look of Spawn, so he asked them specifically for that. Is that the way that Mark Millar has approached you about Prodigy?
That was slightly different because Prodigy was, if not the first, second Netflix owned thing.
Hmm.
Right after the sellout of Miller World. So they had like this um, character guideline
Hmm.
done when I got in, which was fine as well. I mean, I definitely understand that they hired me to do what I do, and I didn't have any kind of problems regarding that. That's my storytelling. That's my way to see the character. That's
Hmm.
all that. But it's probably the most, and I have done Batman and DC stuff, but that's probably the most commercial thing I have done so far, because it's everything was there pretty much when I got in. And again, comparing with movies, it's probably like there's this project that it's in development, and the new
Hmm.
director just came up and do it.
Yeah,
That's how I felt a little bit differently than Huck, for example,
yeah,
which I created since the beginning. It was more like this uh, collaborative
right.
thing.
I
Both,
actually that's
both great experience, though. I'm not complaining. Just
Of course, yeah. I mean, you're always going to be forever attached to that. Once Netflix finally goes in production for it, you're going to be attached to that
yeah.
show. I mean, and that's actually one of the personal questions that I want to ask you. There's always been this debate with Mark Millar. Is he making a comic book and then turning it into a movie, or is he making a movie turning it into a comic book? You can finally answer this. When you got into Prodigy, was it a script first or was it a comic book first?
No, it was a comic book. I mean, Millar doesn't do scripts. Let's just point this way. Uh, I do believe he foresees things maybe a movie or something that could be adapted, you know.
Hmm.
But he's not someone who limits himself on doing whatever he wants in a script, in a comic script, because of that.
Hmm.
So he's a comic writer, and he likes doing things this way. If this thing is going to be adapted eventually, it's another story. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm. Hmm.
So he's a powerhouse of ideas,
Right.
and 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 he does that. He kind of put this together as a comic book, and that's his thing.
Yeah.
Uh, but yes, I in a way I think he definitely look forward when he's doing a comic script, and he doesn't limit himself, but he foresee this could be a really good you
Right.
know uh, movie scene or something like that. He probably put
Right.
an input here or there. Yeah.
Right. Is that how you got into Hit Girl too as well, right after, or was that before? Was Hit Girl before?
Before what?
Oh, no, so what I meant to say is that when did you get into Hit Girl before you did Prodigy, or did you do Prodigy first and then you did Hit Girl? I don't remember the dates on that.
I think I did Hit Girl before.
You did Hit Girl before.
I don't remember now, but yeah, probably. Yeah.
I remember you doing Hit Girl. I remember that because
That was also a collaboration with Rafa Scavone, and that was super fun to do because
mhm,
we could do the story we wanted to do. We were able to write, we were able to draw, and the colorist Marcelo Maiolo was Brazilian also, and he's phenomenal and good friend. So it was like again gathering of friends doing a
right,
character I would like. It
right,
was a lot of fun. But yeah, Hit Girl came first, and then I think the project that followed it was
yeah,
actually Project, because that was also with Maiolo and the Colors.
right. I always ask this question to every single artist and every single writers that I always interview, and I always love hearing their viewpoints on it. How important is it for you to own your own creation, your IP? Is that something very essential to you, or is that something just kind of like a bonus on top of your career, kind of like a cherry on top of it, or is that something that you always want to hold on to?
It's different. I mean, it's very important for me because, well, Stout Club is actually creator-owned assemble of creators, you know,
Hmm.
assembled creators doing IPs,
Hmm.
and getting them together. And this is something we are proud of. And I think this is where, but I'm not trying to call them IPs because it seems like it's we just have the eye on the business. I think it's more about having the freedom to do whatever you want, good or
Hmm.
bad. It's about it's your point of view. So it's you have less restrictions when you're working with licensed stuff. Let's just say Batman or Prodigy or whatever.
Right.
It's different because you are there to be one part of the team. I'm not saying that you're not going to collaborate creatively. You definitely will,
Hmm.
but it's different. I mean, it's it's also cool because you don't have that much responsibility. You know,
Right. Right.
uh,
Exactly. You just have to follow a certain script kind of thing, and then that's about it.
I mean, you need to understand the point of view. But I mean, I'm also happy to collaborate into making someone else view happen. But I also like to do my own. It's just
Right.
two different kind of food,
Right.
basically.
And speaking of creator owned stuff, I've never asked this to any artist, and I don't know why, but you're gonna be the first one I'm gonna ask this, and then moving forward, I'm gonna ask this to every artist too as well. What is your opinion about AI art? Is that something that you believe that it could help you, or is that something that you're fully against?
The way it is, I'm fully against. I mean, I think the technology is brilliant. I think it's impressive, but I think it's somehow like an atomic bomb. I mean, you need to have some sort of responsibility on how you put these things together because the way it is, uh, even though the technology is amazing and you can create beautiful piece of art in seconds, this is being uh, these are inspired, to say the least, in a lot of human creators, and you cannot do that without paying royalties. I mean, uh, we are being ripped off on the end
Mhm.
of the and I mean, if this thing eventually takes over and steal our jobs, let's just say, uh, we are being ripped off twice. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
what I'm saying
Yeah.
is that it's not. I don't think it's like the worst problem in the world having it. I think technology again, it's amazing,
Mhm.
but the way it's been used, it should be definitely regulated.
Mhm.
Way to pay the proper creators of stuff,
Yeah.
and also not just uh, destroy industries or jobs and stuff like that. It's very
Right.
dangerous. If you look at the actors and the writers strike that's
Mhm.
going on, it's a lot about AI.
Yeah.
These guys were like for the extras and stuff. The actors, they're trying to just scan their face and use forever, paying like nothing. This is
Yeah.
stealing. I
Yeah.
mean,
I think that,
moral question. That's the thing. It's a moral question. I
right.
mean, it's right for this huge artificial intelligence. Is it right to? It's okay to having access to all internet and mimic any kind of art in order to stealing people jobs. I think this is just wrong.
Of
more.
course, yeah, no, I definitely in agreement with you. I mean, there is just something about just pencils and the artist. It sounds ridiculous, but you cannot put your own artistic view on it if it's AI. You can see it's the perfection and the fakeness of it. Like if they were to say, "Oh, imitate Rafael Albuquerque's art," you can I can tell that your hands wasn't drawing that at all. You know what I
Maybe
mean? Because
I
I
do.
I believe I've said this to one of the artists before, that what makes your art really well is the imperfections of it. The imperfections makes it perfect, right?
I agree, and I'm not saying that it's going to be exactly like what I do or what Will Eisner do. Doesn't That's not the point. The point is that the industry doesn't necessarily.
Hmm.
I mean, it would be better if it was human, but it's so much cheaper to be machine that eventually the industry, and I'm talking about the big industry, that we're talking about products, not art. You know, so let's not go into far. No, no comics, but let's talk about advertising or press.
Hmm.
Will they need an illustrator now, or they can just use a fucking AI to do
Right.
their thing? It's people are already losing their jobs,
Yeah.
and I mean, it doesn't have to look precisely like Will Eisner, but if resembles, might be good enough for them. Not pay someone. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. No, I definitely understand. I would still pay highly money to get like an original.
I
Uh.
understand that, and a lot of people will, but maybe not enough to keep the industry together.
Yeah.
So probably the whole thing will eventually ruin. Maybe I'm just pessimist. I don't know, but it's a possibility that the whole industry ruins because there's worse and cheaper art.
No, of course, because what's gonna happen? I definitely understand what you're saying. Because what's gonna happen is that in order for artists like yourself to actually get work, you're gonna have to maybe down your fee. But then that means that you're pretty much dumbing down your art itself. Does that
Yeah,
make sense? Like you're cheaping it up. That's what I meant to say, right? Because you
and
know what you're worth. You know what your product can bring, right? So
yeah,
no, I
and
definitely understand.
we'll probably see what happens. But I think I'm not against the technology at all. I think it's brilliant. What I'm saying is that it needs some sort of regulation. Otherwise, I mean, it's
Mhm.
devastating what it can happen with not just our industry, but pretty much everything that demands some sort of
Right.
qualification. Look at music, look at movies, look at concept artists, look at comics, look at
Mhm.
illustrators, look at press, look at writers.
Mhm.
The thing pretty much can do it all. Is it good? It's probably okay, but it's okay because it's copying, it's ripping off everyone else who already did it. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? It's
Right.
just
Exactly.
it's it's very immoral at where it
Yeah.
is.
Of course. No, I definitely understand. I have a couple of questions here from our Patreon. One of them says, with the success and recognition, Blue Beetle, would you ever like to see some of your other work, like Animal Man, get the same adaptation to animation or live action?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm all for adaptations. And there's this thing. I was talking with a friend who was like saying, "Well, you should be very protective about your work," and I agree with him. But in a way, I don't feel like that. Again, it's probably like Miller, but I feel like I'm a comic artist, comic creator, and I want to put out my work, my vision in a book.
Hmm.
Uh, I'd love to see this book adapted, and I really hope it's a good movie. But even if it doesn't, e- even if even if it isn't, will be. a really nice experience to see how someone else will look at my work and kind of create something else.
Of
That's
course. Yeah.
already interesting for me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, most definitely. Another one I have here says, any other characters or books that you've done in the past that you want to take another stab at it, just to redo it. So, any work that you've had in the past. I'm sorry.
If I would redo something I have done,
Yeah, just to revisit it and probably do it differently.
well, tough question. I probably redo everything because I look at my art and I don't like, but it's just a fucking artist. Uh,
Perfectionists.
I would say, I mean, my friend Mateus would hate me for that. But again, back in 2008, I did this comic called Mundo Urbano with Mateus Santiloco and Eduardo Medeiros.
Hmm.
And I still think it's good book, but I think we three, Mateus probably was the best of us at the time, but I think we three were like in this transition moment uh, of polishing our styles or finding our styles. So that is a book I would redraw at least. Although I really like the script and I think it's still, I mean, still works.
Right.
But that's a book I look back and say, "Well, fuck, how could I draw this way or that way?" You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I would do,
exactly. Yeah.
but he's right. I mean, we shouldn't touch that.
I was gonna say, I'm like, do not. In my head, I was like, do not say American Vampire. Do not say American
No,
Vampire.
no, no. I would never redo. That's at least more 10 years. No, I'm good with
Yeah,
that.
I thought you were gonna say Blue Beetle because I read somewhere that you weren't very happy with the way that you done Blue Beetle. So I don't know if that was true or not.
No, I mean, again, everything I look back, it's like, fuck, that's bad. But I think Blue Beetle is solid.
Mm.
And Mon Urbano is this book that is in between my two style, this change of style from Blue Beetle and American Vampire. It's right in between.
Hmm.
So it's still not. I mean, it's solid, but it's still not polished. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying?
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
Blue Beetle, I think it's stand out for being what it is. And American Vampire is completely different, but still stands out. This thing is kind of weird.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Uh, One final question that I have here is, your dream book or dream character that you want to take a stab at.
That's a tough one.
There's,
I
there's tons of them. It
uh I you
doesn't.
know
Yeah.
I really would like to draw a Sin City story.
Ooh. Oh yeah, definitely.
That is something I would definitely do anytime.
That'd be
Uh,
something very unique because you use a lot of color on your books, and Sin City is just like black and white. That would be a
and
very
that's the thing.
and
you know,
that's a very interesting
challenge
take.
of having to play with your style just in black and white and make your art stands up without coloring. That's a nice challenge.
Right. So before we end anything here, are you up to doing anything right now independently? Are you doing anything independently right now, or do you have any upcoming books coming up?
Again, me and my friends will have this production company, let's just say, comic production company called Stout Club, and we're putting out a lot of projects through Comixology. I invite you to check out the website and our stuff.
What's the
Uh,
website, sir?
it's stoutclub.com.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I've been doing a lot of writing, a lot of covers, a lot of editing, and I have done some art. I'm going back to another project with them later next year.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean it's a whole another side of comic making. I tend to be very attached to art and stuff, but it's really nice to be on the backstage as well. Taking doing some sort of editorial. I don't know.
Editorial kind of stuff. Yeah. Any of them going to have a physical copy too as well? Are you guys working
They
on that?
do have the Dark Horse putting them out eventually. We have check this out. I mean, this is the latest
Mm.
one. It's called Hailstones by Rafa Scavone and Rafa de la Torres, who's an amazing artist. He's drawing, I think, Daredevil now. So if you look inside, it's like,
Yeah.
I
Is
don't
that
know.
available? Is that available now too as well?
Yeah, just came out. It's Dark Horse. They are putting out together. It's a partnership. Dark Horse, Comixology, and sorry, just flipped.
And Stock Club too as well. Okay, perfect.
But yeah, I mean, these books are coming out, and we're very happy to see them out. It's again, these are our babies.
Hmm.
We projects that we came up with. Our ideas, no interfering from editorial or big brands and stuff. So it's really nice having the chance, to put out our own line of
Hmm.
comics, and there's a lot more coming out next year and 2025 as well. So we're very
25. Perfect. Now I know we're almost at the end of end of the year here. We have only a few more months. Will you be visiting us here in the States for any Comic Cons or anything?
I just returned literally this Monday.
Oh, did
Uh,
you?
I went to a convention in Austin, a GalaxyCon. Then had a week on vacation in New York, and then attended this show in New Hampshire.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
Granite Comic Con, which
Granite
was
Comics. Yeah.
so yeah. I mean, no more shows for me
Yeah.
overseas this year, but I'll be definitely back next year. It's always great.
Oh, well, you're not going to be in your Comic Con, or did you say you are going to?
Year, no, unfortunately, no.
Oh, not this
Uh,
year. Okay.
Next show I'm doing is São Paulo, CCXP. That's a big show, massive.
Mhm.
But that's it for me this year. Lots of work, and but I hopefully next year I'll attend more.
A 10 more. Perfect. All right. So I mean, again, thank you for being here, sir. I mean, like answering all the questions there too as well has definitely been this has been on a personal note, this has been one of those interviews I also wanted to do and talk to you about because again, I've been a big fan of American Vampire. I've been a huge fan of that because just the way it was drawn, and then I was very excited with Prodigy. Prodigy, I've never been so excited about, which I'm gonna talk to you about later because I don't know what's going on with that because everyone's looking forward for the Netflix and we don't hear any announcement. But that's gonna be another topic another time. But again, thank you for.
I don't really know nothing as well. I mean, I know, but
Ever-
thank you. It was a lot of fun. Thank you for invitation again. Thank you for everyone to everyone who's looking at it. You know, this was fun.
Of course, yeah. Again, guys, definitely visit stoutclub.com
Yeah.
for all independent work there by Mr. Rafael there and everybody else that's included there. Please visit them. You can always find them on Instagram too as well. Facebook. I'm assuming that you have Facebook too as well. No
Just
Facebook.
Instagram. I might have an account there, but it's
But
kind
it's just there. But Instagram definitely. You
yeah.
can find him on Instagram. All his work there. Follow him.
It's Rafael Albuquerque 81.
81. Okay,
Yeah,
perfect. And do you have your own website, sir? Is that specifically just yours?
RafaelAlbuquerque.com.
Perfect. Yeah, visit there too again, guys. So again, I'd like to thank Mr. Rafael Albuquerque for being here. Thank you very much, sir. And
Thank you.
again, guys, you can always find us here on uncensorednerds.com. And then if you guys have any questions, let me know. But until then, I will see you guys next time. I'll see you later.